Welcome to Sholicast, the podcast all about Lolly and Shota, including Not Safe for Work. Sholicast is hosted by me, Hydro, and Dr. X. Together, we make up Team Cyberhex. We're the developers of Insexual Awakening 1 and 2, an adult visual novel game where you play as a Shota protagonist and get into all sorts of wholesome, naughty fun with friends and family. I primarily work on the writing and planning for our games, and Dr. X works on the programming, artwork, and additional writing. If you'd like to play Insexual Awakening 1 or 2, you can download them at our official Barag at barag.net/cyberhex. You can also check out our continued development progress of Insexual Awakening 2 at our Subscribestar, which is subscribestar.adult/cyberhex. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Sholicast. I'm Hydro with Dr. X once again, and in this episode, we are joined by Huburt Pewder. Welcome, Huburt.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. So like most of our episodes, we always like to start off asking, how did you get into Lolly, or how did you get into Shota?
Well, primarily for me, it's Lolly content. I also like Shota. I knew I liked Lolly before I liked Shota. Before we started recording, I actually prepared for this question, and the truth is, I don't quite remember one specific point in time that I started to delve into Lolly content. The point in time that I definitely knew, yes, I like Lolly, it was when I was 19, and that's kind of when I got into the Lolly content. That's when I joined Barag, and that's kind of when I discovered this whole community. And before that, I kind of had a feeling about it when I was maybe 15.
A lot of people we talk to, they've said that they've got into Lolly or Shota like in their teens. Your experiences really feel like it's probably very common from the Lolly and Shota community, I think.
And so there wasn't any like specific like show or video game or anything like that. It was more like just kind of gradually just ended up enjoying like just Lolly artwork. Like did you actively seek out like any Lolly artwork, or did you just stumble across something like was there anything specific like that?
Well, when I was watching shows at that age, I kind of had an affliction towards certain characters, and this was before I knew the term lolicon. So if I wanted to see anything NSFW, I would have to specifically look up Rule 34 of the character that I wanted to see.
Now, which characters were kind of like your first ones that you like got interested in? Were there any specific ones or any specific shows?
Yes. So the Pokemon anime,
classic,
of course. When I would see it on TV every now and again, I would look at the female characters and, of course, admire them. But the one that really got me, I would say I was around 15 at the time. Of course, I was. So, Bonnie from the X and Y anime.
I think she has blonde hair, is that right?
That is correct.
Yes, and she has like an older brother.
Yep.
Yeah, I love her. I've actually had artists do artwork of her like way back in the past because I liked her too.
Mm-hmm.
So then Pokemon was kind of your first thing. So like Pokemon was what you really got into first, and then it was Bonnie, and then it just kind of branched off from there.
So this is actually kind of a long story. It culminates to me joining the Lolicon community. Before I even had any knowledge of Lolicon, of that community, a friend of mine from high school, I was 17, showed me a website called 4chan, and he only went on it for the memes and the garbage in all of the forums. Maybe I shouldn't call it garbage. I offended two people online. So I checked it out for about 10 minutes, didn't like it, and then logged off. maybe 2 years later, when I was on the search for what I would call young hentai, because once again, didn't know the term lolicon, I had a thought. I remembered what my friend had showed me, and I specifically remember a board called B, which was just completely filled with degeneracy, and it was part of the reasons why I got off that website in the first place. So
It's the reason why most people leave 4chan.
I don't doubt it. So in thoughts, my hypothesis was I would find lolicon or young hentai, as I called it, in the B board. So I went on there, and as I would quickly come to learn that 99% of the time, there will be a thread in B titled Lolly Thread. It's just where people dump their lolicon. And initially, I thought this was a rare occurrence, so I went on and I just browsed it. I enjoyed looking at it. And the very first time that I did that, I found some promotional, I wouldn't quite call it art, just like a promotional cover for a fiction on AL3 called Taboos. And here's really where my real beginning started. So Taboos is about a 15-year-old named Alex who gets a babysitting job for a 9-year-old girl named Alyssa. So I had read explicit fictions in past, so I thought I would check it out. And it was a slow burn, and usually that would deter me, but I kept reading because I noticed that this character, Alex, had so much in common with me that it was half scary, but mostly just amazing. Just how this character was written. There would be times where he would do something and I would think oh, this is how I would act in this situation. And in the very next sentence, he does that exact thing. It was very freaky. And at the time, there was only, I think, 3 or 4 chapters had been published. On the 4th chapter, I left a comment as a non, of course, saying, wow, this Alex character is a lot like me. And I followed the later releases of this story. On chapter 5, I left another comment as a non. And yeah, I even got a nice comment by the author, which was pretty awesome. And at the bottom of each chapter, there would be a note saying, hey, you can follow me on Barag, which I've never heard of that website. I checked it out, found his profile. I lurked for a bit, and when I did, I found the public timeline and just the large quantity of lolicon. I was looking at us whoa, I was in awe when I found it. So I lurked there for a bit, didn't make an account just yet, but we're coming up to that very soon. So the 6th chapter of Taboos was released. I read it, and there is one specific excerpt that really caught my attention. So Alex was helping Alyssa with schoolwork, and he asked the question about, did you learn anything in sex education? And Alyssa went, yeah, so there's a penis and then there's a vagina. Then the penis goes in the vagina to where the egg is, and the penis has sperm, all that. Then Alex says, is that all they taught you? Alyssa said, well, that's all I remember. Oh, but they did talk about this one thing called Huburt, and Alex goes, puberty? And Alyssa goes, yeah, that. So right away you can kind of see a connection here, like, ah. So yeah, I left a comment, and instead of doing a none, I left the line Hubert Pewder as my name, and says, I don't have a Barag account, but if I ever make one, I'm making my display name Hubert Pewder because it was funny. It was a funny joke, and it sounds kind of name-ish. And not long after that, I did exactly that. I made my Barag account, I made my display name Hubert Pewder, and the rest is history.
That's actually a pretty cool like name origin story. I like that.
It's 2 mispronunciations of the word puberty.
Now, at that time, were you already writing stories?
Oh yeah. In fact, I had been writing Curated since I was, I must have been like 8 years old when I started writing. Of course, I didn't write anything explicit when I was at that age, but yeah, I've been doing it for quite a while.
Oh, nice. So was the Taboo series? Oh, just to ask, who is the person who creates the Taboo series, so that way people will know if they want to check them out on Barag.
The author is named Ink Lover, and Inky, if you listen to this, I love you. Hit me up. Want to be your friend.
Yeah. Hit Hubert Pure. Hit him up. Do it.
Like he named himself after something in your story, bro.
Yeah. That's a pretty massive compliment.
Yeah, he knows.
Not nice. So would you say that story, that series, like kind of inspired you to write more? Like, did it kind of ramp up your writing even more, or like, because I know sometimes with writing, sometimes you'll watch something or you'll read something that will really kind of light the fire in you, even though you may have been writing previously to that. Is that kind of what happened with the Taboo, that series?
A little bit, yes. So my main project right now is a very wholesome lolly Yuri story called Lil, and every once in a while, when I'm writing, I think back to myself reading Taboos and just realizing where I'm drawing inspiration from. And I will say though that my very first piece of lolly writing was actually before I discovered Taboos. And there's a bit of a story behind this as well. I did post this on my Barag. It's probably hidden like way at the bottom of my profile because it was in 2021. It was a story that was kind of similar. So it was just about a guy a teenager who was a babysitter for twins, some very cute twins. And he gets into some shenanigans with them. And I wrote this when I was 16, believe it or not. So I wrote it in a text document and just saved it deep into my computer because I didn't know. I was naive. I thought I was doing something taboo, as they'll say. So I wrote it. I didn't show it to anyone, and I kept it for about 2 weeks. And I would go back, reread it for, well, you'll probably guess why. And after that, I decided to delete it. So I didn't want it saved on my computer for whatever reason. I was too scared to keep it. But I didn't forget it. And the thing that I posted on Barag was a remembered version of what I initially wrote.
Did you add anything to it, or was it exactly as you remembered it?
I did add 2 continuations for it. So at the time that I wrote it, I had 1 part, 1 climax, and it was done. I didn't continue writing it. Then when I posted it on Barag, remembering it, I had also thought, well, I did plan to write more, but I just was too scared to. So I didn't write more, but I kept the idea, and it was in my head for genuinely like 2 or 3 years, because writing it between age 16 and finally posting it at age 19, that was a long time and never forgot it.
Awesome that you kept it in your memory, and also even ended up continuing it in a way. I really like that. Like it's like in the end you stuck to your guns. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What were the parts that, like, because a lot of times when you want to remember an idea that you had, usually there's certain things that stand out. Was it the like characters that like made you remember it really fondly? Were there specific like scenes or scenarios that you wrote that made you remember it, and then like it kind of locked into your memory?
Well, the first couple of things that I posted, first pieces of writing, were not like novel by any mean. They were about 1,000 words each. And the entire point of all of them was to just write something sexy, write something kinky, just write something genuinely to get off to. So that's mainly what I did. I didn't mean it like that.
So you remembered a lot of it because it was sexy, basically.
Yeah.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Well, yeah, don't underestimate the power of horny brain power. I mean, that it like elevate my brain power gets elevated when I'm horny. That's how I'm able to come up with a ton of ideas.
I 100% agree. The brain sure does run when the blood is not in it.
Yeah. I mean that's the irony of it.
So that story and the Lolly Yuri story, Lil, are those your only 2 stories so far?
Oh, I had actually lots of stories. So it'd be short stories, the like 1,000 word stories. I would call those fantasies with a PH, and I would name them each after a number. And like I took inspiration from Beethoven, giving all his songs named after a number. So I didn't post them anywhere except a barrage. So if you want to read them, they're in like a thread, just like paragraph after paragraph. So I have, one sec, if I look back at I call this my table of contents. I made a promotional art, very quick, 5 minutes in Photoshop, art for each of them, and I have made a total of 13 fantasies with a PH, and all of them are very brief. Oh, and the last time I wrote one was June of last year, so I haven't done something like that in a while. I've mainly been putting my focus to Lil, which has been my passion project for 2.5 years, holy, and I'm nowhere near done it. Wow, what am I doing? So a few months ago, I did get an idea for another novel called Philiac. I have the layout complete for that one, the layout, not the writing, of course. So I released 2 chapters to that on AO3, and the reception is kind of positive, and it seems like people like this one better than Lil, mainly because Lil is a wholesome, slow burn. It didn't even get sexy until part 3, and even then it's mild. And that was my intention when writing Will. I only had the idea for 1 or even 2 chapters, parts, I don't know. And after writing 2 chapters, I just didn't write it for like 6 months because I thought, well, I wrote it, but I always thought they didn't do anything sexy, whereas everything I've written up until this point has been sexy. It's been explicit, and this is wholesome. I like wholesome, but not everyone does. So I kind of wanted to write both wholesome and sexy at the same time. So I continued writing it after 6 months of not doing so, and I gave it a part 3 and then a part 4. And then I thought, okay, well, this is going pretty slow. And then when I got to part 5, I'm like, oh, I have an idea. I'll make the main character's name is Katie. I'll give her a dream where it's kinda sexy. It's a sexy dream, I'll say. Someone in my comments said, was that a wet dream? I'm just like, well, I guess it is. So I wrote that, and then I just kept going, making things progress. And I have published 8 chapters, 33,000 words. Just looking at that number is crazy to me. And
oh yeah, I know, it adds up fast.
Yeah. And part 9 is in the works. And I didn't at the time, but now I have an idea for how it's going to end. Or I'll word it a bit differently. I have an idea for the finale. So, and that's coming up, man. That's crazy to think about, man.
So that's pretty cool. One of the things I'll say about like with endings and stories is, it's funny because it makes me think of when Dr. X and I have been talking about different animes and stuff, and like how some writers and some creators, they'll come up with an ending like when they're starting off the story right from the beginning. Now it sounds like with you that didn't happen, so you're kind of in like, I think, a better position, because a lot of times when you come up with an ending like right at the start, a lot of times what you're writing in the midway point, you're just kind of like, uh-oh, my ending's not really going to line up too well. But then there are some people who will kind of stay stubborn and be like, no, but I've got to have the ending exactly like this. And so I'll modify the story however I need to make it work, when it actually should probably be the opposite way. It should be your ending should kind of formulate from the story that you're writing. And it sounds like that's kind of what's happened with you.
Yeah, and in fact, I just found the post that I made right before I started writing Lil. 2-part post, bear with me. It says, I want to write a story about 2 lollies aged 7 and 12. The other character's actually 8, I think. Yes, 8. I hope I didn't make a mistake. Oh no. Anyway, age 7 and 12 who are so deeply in love. They show each other lots of affection and the story is very wholesome. But if I did that, I would need there to be a plot. What would the plot be? I don't want to write the cliche forbidden love trope. Shakespeare already did that. I can't really write it as a fantasy because those are supposed to be more sexy than wholesome. Sure, I can say things like they were inseparable, but that doesn't set a mood. The main problem with writing it as a fantasy is that it would need a longer setup and the story would move way too slow. My fantasies are supposed to be quick and sexy. If I took things too fast, it wouldn't be wholesome. I can't just quickly gloss over their love and go straight to their affairs, and I can't have too long of a setup or that ruins the purpose of a fantasy. So I already had the idea at that point, thinking like, oh, I want them to be in love because I'm a fan of Yuri and lollies, of course. So what I ended up doing, the first 2 parts, the first part was them meeting and basically love at first sight. And it was tough for Katie, the 12-year-old. And Lily, being the naive little girl, she didn't feel the same way. She thought that, like, she felt the same way, like, in love with Katie. But because Katie was at war with herself, thinking like, oh, I want to be with this girl. Oh, but I can't be with this girl, or I shouldn't be with this girl. Then Lily kind of was thinking that it was something about her that was making Katie feel this way. The first two parts, it was kind of going back and forth like that, just like, oh, it's will they, won't me? And that was like right off the start. And I felt like I left things at a pretty nice note, just even after those two. And it wasn't until 6 months later that I decided, you know what, there needs to be more. These two can go on an adventure of their own, and that would just be amazing. And I would like to see that.
Now, is there any kind of like kind of lolly that you're most attracted to, or kinds of lollies?
Maybe. In terms of physique, I do kind of like a character that is kind of around just starting puberty. I think a tween is the term for it.
Now, these two characters in this story, like when you think of the two characters, the two lollies in this story, do you visually in your mind picture how they look? Like, do you know what they visually look like in your mind?
I've commissioned many things of these two characters, and I have their designs pretty well down pat. So, Haiti is the 12-year-old. She has long brunette hair and a pink streak on the front. I'll say similar to that of Nimona from Starlight and Violet, but I came up with this character before that game came out. And Lily is an 8-year-old blonde with a ponytail and a cute curl in the above her forehead or on her forehead. And that was a nice touch done by the original artist.
Oh, so that curl was like an additional thing like an additional flair that the artist added that you didn't think of initially?
Yes. So I gained my idea. I knew Katie wanted the pink streak. I told the artist that specifically one I wanted. And so when he sent me design concepts for the characters, Lily had the ponytail, which I suggested, and the curl on the front was very cute. And I said, that looks amazing. Please proceed with that. And after that, like, I've had many different artists draw these characters, and each one of them has their own interpretation. But I consider the very first time I commissioned them, the artist who basically designed them, all I did was describe them. He really designed them. I consider those designs to be canon. So whenever I commission someone, I say, please reference this image specifically, but here's all the other artist interpretations.
Gotcha, nice. I'm definitely the kind of writer that likes to have like a visual, like an actual artwork visual of the characters. Just makes it a bit more enjoyable, I guess, to see like a character that you've thought up of in your mind, like actually come to life, so to speak. It's cool. I bet when you saw that artwork when it was first completed, you probably were just like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. This is exactly what I was looking for.
Yes. So I got the final product. I got the final product, and I've had commissioned things in the past, but this was the first time I actually had like custom characters that I knew were going to be my own. I'm trying to find a bit like a good way to describe it.
Original characters?
Yeah, original characters. It was definitely a better feeling than getting a commission back that was of a character that already exists. So like having put ideas forward and getting results back was a completely different experience. I was definitely like, hell yeah, this looks amazing. And I was very happy with how they turned out.
Glad to hear that. It's awesome. And I have to hand it to both people who commission and as well as the people who fill those commissions for people. Because that was through that you were able to see your characters come to life. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
And now, do you still commission people to do art of your characters?
Yes, I do. So I commissioned someone who is kind of close to done. So there will be another artwork coming out. I don't want to push it, but hopefully soon. I've been receiving updates, and there's a little story behind this, and I'm not like mad about it at all. I wanted to commission this for the release of part 7, and that's exactly what I did. And the artist was having a bit of life troubles, very unfortunate, but I would get constant messages saying like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. If you're still interested, would you still be interested in the commission?" And at that point, I had already released part 7 without the cover, and I said, "Yes, I'm still interested in the commission," because I didn't want to just. It wasn't his fault that he's had that. It wasn't his fault that life got in the way, so I didn't want to pull my commission simply because of that. So it has been quite a while, but quite recently I have been receiving updates of sketches and stuff like that. So I have faith that he's close to done, and also I know that by continuing to commission him, I am supporting him financially, which is kind of a big motivator for me to continue to commission people, because it's good for them. I like their art, and by commissioning them, it's encouraging them it's enabling them to make it as a living, to do what they like to do. And yeah, that's my perspective anyway.
I really like that perspective. I completely agree with it. It's really important for us who have the means to do so, to support each other in Lolly and Shota community, support other creators, and in the ways that we can, whether it's financially or through moral support or something else. It's very important, and we know that there's sometimes difficulties making money off of this stuff. So it's always a good thing when people help each other to fill the dreams in this sphere.
Yeah, I'll admit that I'm a bit of a sucker for when some people say emergency commissions. I'm like, oh, my heart goes out to you. And every once in a while, I will have an idea in mind that I know would be easy for the artist, and the results would be not only beautiful, but in doing so, I'm helping the artist. And it's not always a great thing to know that these people are struggling financially, but the fact that I'm able to help them when I can is very satisfying to me.
And do you usually boost the commission art on your profile on Brag?
Every single time I have commissioned an artwork, if it's not of my own characters, then I make it anonymous. I say, here, I want to support you, and you have the complete rights to the artwork. You can post it if you want. Thank you for the art, but please keep me anonymous, because the amount of times that I've missioned someone, don't get me wrong, I have no regrets doing it, but if my name were to be associated with each one, I would be kind of embarrassed, just because, oh, it's on this one, oh, it's on that one. So and some of these, the ones that I have commissioned, I might even give these like a bit of a sneak peek of one that I have commissioned, or without people knowing. They've gotten kind of big, and I don't want to take credit for someone else's work. All I did was tell them, hey, you should make this, but my only care is to support you financially. And let me see if I can find the one that I commissioned. It's on Barag. He posted it. Here it is. So this is one that I commissioned anonymously.
Oh, nice. Very
I
cute.
like that. I like that a lot.
Uh-huh.
I think I've seen that one.
Oh yeah,
too.
yeah, probably. So it gotten 900 likes. That's a big number, I think. So all I did was say, hey, I think you should draw this. Here's some financial support. And I think if my name were to be put on it, then it just wouldn't feel right to me to get all the attention when the artist drew it.
Yeah, I totally know what you mean.
Yeah, I can understand that.
But in terms of commissions of your original characters, do you usually boost it onto your profile? In other words, if I go on your profile on Barag, will I see the artwork that you commissioned?
Yes, so it's all like the pinned posts that I have. It's artwork of Katie and Lily. You'll see Katie and Lily on my profile. They're always together. And scrolling a little bit down, I did boost an art trade of Katie and Lily, so that's not too far down, December 30th. And yeah, I don't boost a lot of things.
I need to get better at boosting things because I want to make sure that artists, and no matter what size they are, if I like their art, I want to boost it on our profile, especially the DGen Comics one, because that Barag has I think it has like 9,300 followers on it now. So I need to wield my power of the followers more to help out other creators.
A little tidbit of information. So when I made my Barag account, the only person I followed for, I guess maybe like a day or two, was Inklever, because that's why I made my account. But the next person or the next account that I followed was DGen Comics and then CyberHex. So.
Yay. Yes.
I've been a fan for longer than I realize.
That's awesome. Thank you for your support.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. I mean, it goes back to like what we were talking about, that the Lolly and Shota community, especially on Barag, like the more that we share and support each other, whether it's through financial means or just words of encouragement or just sharing, like all of that is very meaningful and very, very helpful to creators, whether they're writers or artists or voice actors too. It does actually contribute a lot to a positive mental health to the community, which is great.
Yeah, one of the early things that I commissioned was a voice commission from a voice actor who unfortunately deleted her account, but I get the reason why. Yeah, so yeah, I absolutely agree with you that
I do think I'm seeing a steady increase in voice actors that's getting into the community and stuff, so that's cool, and I hope to see that increase, that pick up even more.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I've not seen many. Like, the one I commissioned was the only one that I knew of at the time, and I thought it was so unique that I'm like, oh, I got a commissioner, so I did. And yeah, and after she deleted her account, I was like, oh well, I guess the trade isn't very what's the word I'm looking for? Sustainable.
But it doesn't mean they're necessarily gone forever. I always like when I hear people either staying in the community all the way through, or if they did leave or take a break for a while, they've come back. I really like that.
Yeah, there are definitely a few artists that I have seen come and go, and it's been sometimes it hits harder than others. But yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah, it's not always permanent when they take a bit, leave or something. Because I have seen artists who stopped doing Lolly and Shota for whatever reason. Could be like because Twitter was banning it or whatever, and then I've seen them come back. Places like Barag are great for that, because Barag is pretty much like Lolly and Shota Twitter for the most part, especially like for artists or people who make stuff. Yeah, so I'm really thankful for Barag. It's awesome.
Yeah, Okay.
Yeah, and I have noticed that like one artist who kind of took a break and then came back with a different gear was Milk Scum, who you might remember her. She recently made a post saying, "Hi, I'm changing my art style because I feel like my art is shifting, and that's okay." So she was a VTuber for a year, and that was a very good year. She had a lot of success with that. Congratulations to her. Then she took a break. Yeah, there hasn't been much from her since. And on the opposite side of that, I guess I'll bring him up. Vizrat, if you know where I'm going with this. Great artist, amazing artist, and got amazing success having never run a Cunny, which I think is like a feat in itself. He was on Barag, but then at 16,000 followers, he just decided to delete everything. But yeah, he would usually do his OC dagger, which was a very sexy and sassy lolly, would get into some mischief, but you would sometimes see her, but sometimes not. Once he drew nipples on her, and his comment section exploded. And yeah, like, I guess he made an announcement saying he was retiring, and 3 days later he deleted everything, which very disappointment. But of course there are reasons he did that, and I may not know them, but I'm sure he did what was right for him.
Oh, I hope he's doing well right now, whatever he's doing. And
yeah, me too.
Of course, I also like the idea that he's welcome to come back whenever he wants. You know, I have a feeling people will welcome him with open arms. So
yes,
if he is listening, then feel free to come back if you want, if it's right for you.
Absolutely. Even before I made a Barag account, when I was looking up LollyCon on whatever website it was, I would always have a bit of anxiety doing so. And the reason for that, it might sound like a stupid reason, but I would get anxiety because I am Canadian. I'm not going to get into the exact politics. I know I'm not going to have some kind of mental breakdown and delete everything that I've done. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that because I love this community. I love the content.
I have to say that I really admire that people who, even though if they have anxiety or worry about their particular cultures, their attitudes regarding this art, that they still get involved in the community and enjoy the content. I really admire that courage.
Yes. And
their willingness to, in their own way, stand up for what they believe should be allowed, and stuff like that. So I absolutely really admire that. I really do. Of course, we want everyone to be safe, so we do want people to consider ways to keep themselves safe as well. So that's always something to consider. But at the same time, we shouldn't be too fearful. You shouldn't go too into fear, because that can affect your mental health as well. So we don't want that to be affected.
The good news is that Dr. X and I believe, and we know that the tides are turning for the better, and they have been for a while. And the best indicator to that is, when Dr. X and I first started working on IA, there was no Barag, there was no Subscribe Star, there was no Fanbox, there was no there were Lolly and Shota communities out there, like ATF and stuff, but there wasn't. There's more now than there was several years ago, and that's a good sign. And the fact that the community just continues to grow and grow is even better, because one of the things that we talk about is people who may have anxieties or may have fears about things. A lot of times, if they're able to talk with fellow LollyCon, ShotaCons, or fans of it, that actually helps a lot relieve their anxieties, or it can. And we've noticed that's the reason why like the community has to remain very active and very positive with each other, and being able to, reach out to people when you feel like somebody needs a hand or needs just some talking to. And it don't necessarily have to talk about like those subjects, but just to have fun, just talking about Lolly and Shota.
And I've even definitely done a few of those things. I've reached out to some people who I'd never met before on Barag, like I'd noticed their account, and they, hey, I'm just trying to meet new people. You wanna chat for some reason? And I always put my hand out there in that case.
What Hydra was talking about, I absolutely agree with him. And it's like, sometimes there can be little setbacks for us as a community in terms of like, different platforms banning stuff or whatever. But when you really think about it, this is one of the best times there's ever been for Lolly and Shota, because people are making a living off of this stuff like more than ever before, and that enables them to make even more of this stuff. And all these communities that are getting bigger and stronger, like Bragg or ATF or Athey and other places like that, they're getting bigger and bigger and stronger, and that encourages more people to come into the community and more people to make more art. I think in a lot of ways, Lolly and Shota is becoming more accessible. There's more of it. I'm seeing more and more of it every year. It's not decreasing.
Yeah,
and it's definitely it's a very practical point to point out that you can make a living off this stuff, and people are making money off of this stuff. Whereas in the past, as Hydra noted, that your options to do so were very limited,
if non-existent.
Yeah, pretty much. And these days, you're even starting to see like physical merchandise of Lolly and Shota being sold in like places like the United States. So
yeah,
it's our belief, and that as we continue to grow as a community, things will get better, especially in the long run.
Yeah.
And you also have those big publishers like J18.
Those kind of publishers were what I was thinking of. But like I've even bought physical Lolly and Shota merchandise before.
One thing that kind of I remember, and it's giving me a little hope for myself, is when I was in high school, this was the case in almost every English class. They would always encourage the students to read a book. So, of course, I didn't bring a book from home or anything. So I went to the library, and I asked the librarian, dude, where's your comedy section? Because I'm like, if I'm going to read something, I'm going to enjoy it. So she said, we don't really have a section for that, but I do recommend one book. It's called Swin the Fly. So I checked it out, and it's about a group of 3 teenagers, I think they're like 15 or 16, and their goal is to see a naked girl before the end of summer. And they do some crazy stuff, and they're teenagers, and I'm reading it. I'm like, this is allowed. People are allowed to write this. And my librarian recommended it to me. So that was one of the few books that I ended up reading, period. And yeah, there was, I just thinking about that, how something like that can not only be available, but also appreciated to the point where someone says, hey, you should check it out. It kind of gives me a bit of hope for the future as well.
There's all these people who aren't against this kind of fiction. And, when we interact with people who like it, it reminds us that there's plenty of people who are okay with the content, or even like the content. Not everyone is against it, and etc. Because sometimes people will go on Twitter and kind of they get this illusion that it's like everyone is against it and like they're so alone, but they're really not. So my recommendation for anyone who's feeling alone is just to try to surround yourself with other people into Lolly or Shota, because it'll really remind you that you're not alone. Like Hydro and I, besides talking every night, pretty much, we also like regularly do like game nights with other lolicons and shotacons. People should consider trying to make friends in the community, because you're really not alone whatsoever. There's plenty of people like us, and in fact, there's more and more people getting to the community. It's not less, it's more. I can plainly see it. So yeah, just try to make friends and who accept you and your interests, and then like the same stuff.
Yeah.
So that was a great time with you, Hubert. Where can people find you? Where can people find your stuff if they want to read your stories?
I like to say I'm exclusively on Barag, because for quite a while, a few years, that was the only thing that I attached to the Hubert Pewder name. So there's that. It's Hubert, Huburt, Pewder, Pewder, with an underscore. My AO3, where I recently uploaded my stories, because before they weren't on AO3, I decided to upload them to this website 2 years after writing them. My account there is the same, Hubert Pewder, spelled the same, with an underscore. And every once in a while, not often, but sometimes, I like to stream on Pump. And my name there is Hubert Pewder, this time without an underscore. And those are the only things, period. If you see someone on another platform with that name, it is most likely not me. Otherwise, I would link it in my Barag bio.
And what do you stream on Pomf?
I do a bit of drawing. I like to play Scriblio. Basically, it's whenever you like drawing something, I would stream it. Just so I get the practice and I get to chat with the occasional person who stops by.
Yeah, we'll be putting those links into the video as well, so people can see that in the video, and we'll also be linking it in the Barag post, so people can immediately check out your stuff.
Yeah, and then hopefully you'll get more people jumping on your stream when you stream, and then you can chat with some more people. That'd be a lot of fun, because we've definitely had guests who have had more people find out about either their Pomp or their Barag from our podcast, which is exactly our goal, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I bet.
Well, thank you for coming on with us, Hubert. It was a great time.
Yes, it was.
It was an honor to be here. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Glad to have you.